how did the convoy begin?
Well, the guy in front of me was going to bring a truck to Ottawa to complain about cross-border mandates, and they were going to try to make a few bucks to get him to come here, and it turned into one or two trucks to 150,000 trucks and $10 million in the GoFundMe to get us here.
Well, there's been some bad news with the GoFundMe.
Apparently. Oh yeah, but you know what? It don't matter, because the people of Ottawa and Quebec, I don't need any of the GoFundMe money. My fuel is paid for from friends at home and people here. You know, I don't need any of it.
How long are you going to stay for?
Until the mandates are dropped coast to coast. I'm not going home.
I know you've already done so much and sacrificed so much, but we just need you to hang in there a little bit longer.
Now, the scientists have done it, and they've used the virus itself to perform a kind of biological jiu-jitsu.
Our path out of this pandemic is vaccines. So that's my number one focus.
We're now on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult in America by the end of May.
Today, we can announce that the government has accepted the recommendation from the Independent Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency.
By the end of June, we can expect to have received at least 44 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca.
Everyone who wants to take the vaccine will be able to take it, I think, by June, he said. Everyone who wants it will be able to take it. And that's a perfect little opportunity point to go, okay, so we break out of it now. Now we break out of it. Now you can make a sound argument that if the vaccine's available for everybody, the people who want it can take it, and the people who don't are choosing to take the risk. And now we go back to normal life.
Obviously, a vaccine is a powerful solution to let us open this thing up.
Yeah, so I wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed with Sunetra Gupta in December of last year.
Yes.
With a very naive title, which says we can end the lockdowns in a month. Mm-hmm. And the idea is very simple. Vaccinate all vulnerable people. And then open up.
Open up.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
The final outcome of this pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty, but we know already that it will have a changing effect, changing on economies, societies. It's not just to be compared with the economic crisis which we had to pass through 10 years ago.
This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area.
The effect will be much similar to World War.
The vaccine rollout does give us a bit of an opportunity as well, because the federal government decided we are paying for the vaccines, we're delivering them to the provinces, and that gives us a little bit of leverage.
Once we get enough people vaccinated that we can actually then we can leverage that vaccinated pool as something that we can use, that's when I think the immunization certificates become something we can talk about.
We have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status, because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
Dude. And at the same time, they're proposing this vaccine passport, which really, if you look at the proposals, isn't a passport. It's an app, right? With your medical history, with that can, your data can be tracked, your location can be traced, all of these things.
No, let's make sure we're coordinating on tracking, on ensuring that, as you pointed out, Dr. Saxinger, if you move from one province to another, one area to another, we can properly flow.
This may have utility in a whole host of use cases outside of healthcare.
We should be leading the world on this problem. So I think we have a second opportunity here to come with technology and other systems. We have to be ready for this to happen in the future. And if we miss the window a little bit and don't make money off it or whatever the financial goal is, some way, shape, or form, we've all realized that this has got to be in place.
This is something that tech giants are calling for and trying to sell public health officials on. These companies keep telling us that they have the magic bullet. Those contact tracing apps, though, they didn't work. When they told us that they could use artificial intelligence to optimize the rollout of that vaccine, it didn't work. And now we're once again being told to just trust the app to solve this pandemic.
And this is already happening. It's being done in New York City. It's being done in other countries. And there were reports in the Washington Post, in CNN, about the Biden administration meeting with these big businesses to say, oh, you know what, it's not really good enough to do a local level or a state level thing. We need to have one national standard. So you're talking about a national caste system. And if we embrace that, man.
Yeah, so this is this kind of futuristic idea where we actually have a requirement to get a certificate of vaccination before we can do things.
Look like you need a ride.
Is there a feeling that this is just liberties are being infringed to an unacceptable extent?
Wherever you are in the world right now, COVID passports are being discussed.
Vaccine passports are coming. Someday soon, you may need to prove your COVID status to go to the pub, travel abroad, or even go to work.
And one idea that's gaining ground to persuade the young to get jabbed is vaccine passports for Premier League games and major events. It's already happening around the globe, sparking protests.
I think people are aware that there is a libertarian argument here, or simply a liberal argument, actually not even libertarian, it's simply liberal argument, that we don't want to go down the route of social credit scoring that some countries have gone down.
As judges continue to say that we can't have mask mandates and vaccine mandates, I think we need to be careful about how much we malign these particular groups, because this is exactly the same base that Trump was able to energize when he tried to become president. And this is really about freedoms for people. Whether you're on the left or the right, I think that this could be a growing concern.
I'm sure a lot of people are not going to agree with this, but don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you don't show it, can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work.
This creates an opening, and indeed an opening that many in the media are eagerly pushing as many people through as they will take, to suggest that those of us who are therefore excluded by virtue of mandates are dirty, are carriers of disease, are less worthy.
What is the big deal? And all these people are saying, I don't want to put this stuff in my body. They're out drinking on the weekend and putting other substances in their bodies. That's way worse for them than a vaccine. So come on.
Maybe you agree with Don Lemon. The Israeli and French governments essentially adopted that policy. And to be fair, it did increase vaccine uptake in those countries. But more what struck me is the callousness towards the unvaccinated, largely because it seems that a huge canard has taken hold of a lot of these people. They are assuming the only group of people in America who are not vaccinated are white Republican Trump supporters.
Many of them are racist, misogynists. Yes. And he's like, and as a leader of a country, you have to decide, do we even tolerate them? It's like, yo, chill, bro.
Oh,
what do you mean tolerate them?
Yeah, dude.
Are you going to kill them?
Dude, that's what...
Freeze their assets and put them in camps? Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
What the hell?
You think Trudeau wouldn't lock me? He would fucking throw me into the well, dude. If he got his hands on me, dude, I'm like a Bond villain in the Canadian Parliament.
There's an enormous movement that's insisting that everyone takes sides. And this has been going on at least since 2015. And the sides are the good guys or the Nazis. And then there's plenty of people who are saying, screw you, I'm not with you. And they don't, but we said, if you don't side with us, you're Nazis. Like, cool story, bro. And therefore, they're forcing people to view things as in-group and out-group. And that's causing the out-group to form alternative mechanisms.
They left from Vancouver on the western side of the country on Sunday. They're protesting the federal government's vaccine mandates for cross-border truckers, among other things. That mandate took effect on January 15th, preparatory to a worldwide digital travel pass, internal passports for everybody linked to your health status, but not limited to your health status. If you can't see the future in clear outline right now, you're not paying attention.
Of various scare stories that circulate mostly in the right wing have made people frightened to take vaccines or unwilling to do so. Partly it's the kind of thing you're talking about, fear that the government might overuse it.
In terms of mandatory vaccines won't be mandatory. That's not the way we do things in Canada. We're going to do everything we can to be respectful of people's choices, but the safety of all Canadians need to come first. And if someone does choose to not get vaccinated, well, that might have an impact on different factors in their lives. I haven't dug into that a whole lot.
Tomorrow, Walmart, Renault Bray, Indigo, Costco, etc. is closed to people like me. That's another thing that's going on in Canada. Box stores are not open. And you have to show vaccine passport to go to these stores.
They don't have the freedom to travel. They don't have the freedom to go to events, maybe not to work. Ideas have been floated out about grocery stores.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory.
President Biden has announced sweeping new requirements for millions of federal workers.
We've made it our first and top priority to have available vaccines for every eligible American. And that's never going to change as long as I'm here. And it's a shame. It's just such a shame.
Are you supportive of Joe Biden and the Department of Labor using regulations to mandate vaccines or proof of negative testing?
What they're doing, it's not requiring. It's requiring either vaccination or regular testing.
To have to explain to anyone the dangers of allowing the government to look, this is what, I don't care how you want to spin it, this is forced vaccinations. It's actually quite a bit worse than forced vaccinations.
The government has been captured. All of our governments have been captured by economic forces that exceed anything that our founders could have envisioned, right? They couldn't envision the internet or economies of the scale or the kind of interdependence. And so the point is those feedbacks captured the government and put it in the hands of powerful interests.
The major decisions over what happens in the society, decisions over investment and production and distribution and so on, are in the hands of a relatively concentrated network of major corporations and conglomerates and investment firms and so on. They are also the ones who staff the major executive positions in the government, and they're the ones who own the media.
And this is just from CNN. Their headline, Biden administration helping develop standards to prove vaccination. You know, the Biden administration is working with these companies. This is not something that's just happening in the market. This is going to be, we're living in a system where the government has rigged the entire system toward the big corporations in their favor, spent the last year just throwing trillions of dollars at these huge corporations.
To think that before the pandemic, Pfizer were the least trusted company in the least trusted sector. It's hard to imagine a company that is trusted less. But now that's all changed. And as a little bonus, 40 billion of profits. Pfizer has become a household name over the last 12 months. They spend enough on advertising. The US president referred to Pfizer's chief executive, Albert Bourla, as a good friend, and the great man parked his jet next to Boris Johnson's at last year's G7 summit in Cornwall.
While destroying the small businesses of the country through direct government policy. They've destroyed the government, the middle class. They've destroyed the mid-size and small businesses, and they've just thrown trillions of dollars at big corporations. And now they're going to work with those big corporations, these crony corporations, to develop standards for who's allowed to do anything.
If people want to feel free to kill others, sorry.
It's a nasty virus. I'm just more concerned with the totalitarian regimes that are sweeping the entire Western world.
The Cabinet Office Minister, Michael Gove, says the government is studying a green pass system used in Israel. If the plan does require legislation, the government may try to win over the rebels by promising it'll only be temporary.
The real problem is that once you give governments power, they don't give it back. They don't want to give it back. What's fascinating to me is watching what's going on in Canada right now.
Some of those folks behind the organization have been associated with Western separatists. Other organizers of part of the convoy have been openly talking about, hate speech. And then you get a lot of people here who are just very frustrated with the mandates. They want this to end. You talk to them, they don't know about that stuff. They're here because they want, quote, their freedom back.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
Where are you guys in from?
Brighton, Ontario.
Brighton, Ontario. Oh, dude, let me see this shirt. Proud member of a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.
It's been like nothing else I've ever experienced. Just like so peaceful, so loving.
Do not represent the views of Canadians.
It's beautiful what's happening over here.
Oh my goodness!
Who have been there for each other, who know.
You can do more than that. I'm waiting for all the tickets to come from the government for too much human-to-human contact.
That following the science.
Honestly, thank you so much for what you do. You're like the same face. You're like the same face for this.
And stepping up to protect each other.
Thank you very much.
We love you.
You keep hearing that, these are extremists and everything, but everybody's nice, everybody's friendly.
Just love this guy.
What brought you here and where are you in from?
Peterborough, Ontario. And brought it just because it's crazy stuff.
Is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
I was watching the live stream, a lot of your live streams, Ottawa at home. I was watching with my mom and then we turned CBC on. And my mom had a moment where she was like, oh my God, Trudeau's just lying.
I'm the lunatic fringe. You guys are doing a good job. Awesome.
We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that.
March is going to be 32 years of Canada. I love this country. We ran away from communist regime with, we know how it feels. And let me tell you, last 2 years.
The part that is so alarming to me is how many people, even people with, recent history in their families.
We had deja vu and it really, for him I have 4 kids and they will tell me, oh, Mama, this is trauma from your childhood, this and that.
Of having been through the introduction of a two-tiered society in which people became dirty and untouchable and unmentionable and then not there.
Mark Twain said something really beautiful. And he said it's easier to fool people
than to convince them they've been fooled.
Then convince them that they have been fooled.
100%.
And this is exactly where we're standing right now. And I don't mind if people feel safe to wear masks. Wear masks. If you want to have vaccination, but please don't force me to do it.
I don't know if it's an inability to notice or an unwillingness to notice, but a not noticing of the thing that is happening in front of us, which is part of why so many of us are utterly thrilled that the truckers and their supporters and their allies in Ottawa and at Coates and at the Ambassador Bridge in Canada are holding the line.
You don't have to have any opinion on Canada or the truckers or really GoFundMe to know how this movie plays out.
Action. Oh, yes. Through the flag. Oh, why are you hiding us? Open the bridges now.
I'm not leaving until the army or whoever drags me out of here or the mandates are over. Like, I'm not leaving. I'm sick and tired of all the lies. And it's not just the liberals. They're all liars. Like, they get in there and they get a 300 or whatever they make a year, and they don't care what the people think anymore. They're lifetime politicians, and they'll do whatever they can say to stay in power. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. By the look of the 2.5 million people here on the weekend, a lot of people have had enough of it.